All right, so what we have going on here is that we are going to be doing the polynomial synthetic division guided practice. So I'm going to be working through some of the problems on the other side. You're welcome to work through them on this side and be able to just kind of check your answers as we go along to see what you're doing. So remember, the first thing we're going to do is our setup. And our setup is going to consist of taking the opposite of this number here and then our coefficients. But if we notice, this goes from an x to the third to an x to the first. So technically there should be a 0x squared here, at least in my situation. So you want to make sure you check to see if you need to add a 0. If you don't, then fine, you have all your coefficients. Remember, this is actually a coefficient of 1 over here. And let's get our initial setup. So opposite and our value. So this is what you can be doing with that problem on that side. We're going to draw our little box to set up our division, our synthetic division. And then I'm going to start taking my coefficients. So 7, 0, 6, and 9. So for your problem, you should be doing the exact same thing of taking your coefficients. Then I'm going to actually kind of set it up, and I'm just going to draw my line underneath. I'm going to hit my plus, and I'm going to put in my remainder box. So from here, once you have that, we're going to actually start our division. So I'm going to first drop down, put it at my 7 there, and then I'm going to start my multiplication process. Negative 5 times 7. And that's going to give me a negative 35. And that's where I end up putting it. I'm going to add these together and get negative 35. And then I'm going to times that by 5, and we're going to get big here very quickly. So that times 5 is 175. And I put it there. And then I'm going to add. Now here's an important component to have here. This isn't just 6. This is actually a negative 6. So make sure that you have this be a negative 1 in this situation. So I'm actually technically subtracting. And I'm going to get 169. Well, I'm going to times that, my little multiplication dot, just to remind me that I'm multiplying. You don't have to do that step, but it's just kind of getting us back to here. And that times negative 5 is going to be negative 845. I'm going to add 9 and get negative 836. So now that I got my values, I'm now going to rewrite it, and I could say that it's going to be, again, come back to my original, x plus 5. This is going to have one less exponent than whatever that is, so 7x squared minus 35x plus 169 minus, and make sure I put those in parentheses, 836. Okay. So on yours, let's look at yours, see if you did yours correctly. Bring down, multiply. Oops, I was already doing my multiplication on that one. Bring down, then multiply. Bring down, multiply, add, multiply. So then my answer becomes x minus 2. 1 less than that is x squared. It's 9x plus 17, close parentheses, with the remainder of 41. Alright, so that is an example of how to do those. So let's try another one, and I'm going to write this out and pause the video to write it out. And copy this one down. Yes, please note that we do have some fractions that we're working on, so that way you can see how to do this when you're given these type of problems. So once you have it copied down, the first thing we're going to do is our initial setup. So we're going to take the opposite of this fraction here. So let's do minus 1/3. And then again, we're just going to take all of the coefficients. Mindful, in my situation, I go from x to the third to x to the first. So that means I need a 0x squared is what I'm going to insert into there. So my coefficients are going to be 6, negative 25, 0, negative 3, and 5. So from there, I'm going to draw my line, make my addition, and put in my box. So you are welcome to also put this in two different things, because initially these are all numerators and this is a denominator. So if you kind of give this extra space, it kind of allows you to visualize that component to it. So the good news is the same rules apply. We're going to drop down our 6 and we're going to multiply by negative 1/3. Now the trick to remember is that if you're multiplying by negative 1/3 times 6, you're just going to be multiplying your numerators and your denominators together. So basically you get negative 6 divided by 3. You can do 6 times 1, or whatever your numerator is, divided by your denominator. That's all a fraction is. Multiply, divide. Well, we can do 6 divided by 3. That's not as intimidating. And don't forget our negative sign, and that's going to actually become negative 2. I'm going to add these up, and I get negative 27. Well, negative 27 times negative 1 divided by 3 gives me 9. Well, 9 times negative 1, and I'm going to add these up, divided by 3 gives me negative 3. Add those up. 6 times negative 6 times negative 1 divided by 3 gives me 2, and a remainder of 7. So then I can rewrite this into our more traditional form, which is x, come again back to my original, plus 1/3 times, I'm going to start with my next exponent down, so 6x to the third minus 27x squared plus 9x minus 6, and then I have a remainder, so plus 7. So go ahead and check your work against that one, and I'll show you your answers in just a moment. And your answer to be able to check it. Remember, it's just 8 basically times negative 1 divided by 4, negative 2. Add this up, negative 2 times negative 1 divided by 4 gives me a simplified version is 1/2. Well, if I add 1/2 to that, I get negative 28 times negative 1 divided by 4 7, add, multiply, add. Write my original, one exponent down from my starting point, and then plug in all my coefficients. Make sure you include the parentheses to separate it out from the remainder, and we are finished. All right, let's try one more. For our last one, I want you to try this problem here. Okay, so yes, it is in decimals. But that's okay. I want you to apply the same practice, pause the video, try it on your own, and I'll show the answer in just one moment. So go ahead and pause the video now. Same exact process. Right. So hopefully you've had a chance to work it through. If not, again, you should have paused the video and done so. So let's check out our work. So first is our setup. -1, we have our coefficients. And then we're going to bring down and multiply. Add, multiply, add, and then you multiply again back to our -1 and add. So even though it's a decimal, it didn't change our format and worked just as well. We have our original, and then we do one less exponent and make these all of our coefficients and terms, put in parentheses, and then our remainder. All right, so those are your guided practice. I hope this helps. Make sure you can put these in your notes as well as examples to do with the different types of problems of decimals and fractions and just overall basic example.